creatives makers, bookmakers, journal makers. I'm back as promised with my little free tutorial on how to make these adorable little journals. This is the Sweetest Little Journal, and probably the even more important video is previous to this on YouTube, my channel here, which I will link, about the supplies. And this is going to be really sweet and simple, showing how simple it is to put it together. And I'm actually going to use one that I made and take it apart and put it back together, showing how it was done. So Sweetest Little Journal. And if you don't have time to gather all of the things to make it, I have kits available. There's a couple left. And they're chock full. They have over 136 pieces of goodies, sweet things, treasures, things to create this little journal, and a lot more. There's plenty more. Kits in my Etsy, I will link. Sweetest Little Journal. And it's funny, I was thinking when I was telling in the supplies journal about making these, a friend of mine, a really sweet dear friend, took me away. It was about 2 months after our oldest son had passed. So about a year ago, she took me to this beautiful place, and we just wanted to be super relaxed and casual and be able to visit and just chill. And so we each brought some things to work on, and she brought knitting, and I pulled out my stash. And she's kind of looking at me out of the corner of her eye like, what is that? What are you doing? What do you have? What? And I still am not positive that she understands. But my journaling, crafting, art book, altered book, journal friends totally get it, right? It's so sweet. So I showed you through, all through one, and in actually a couple videos, and then especially in the supplies video, I showed you through, showed you everything, all the supplies to collect. And so either order a kit from me or gather your supplies if you haven't already, and we're going to start reimagining all of these amazing bits and pieces into this adorable little journal. It's a celebration of reimagining, recycling, reinventing tiny beautiful things, remnants, scraps, bits and pieces. So the video, supplies video, tells you what you need, the few things besides what's in the kit. So be sure and watch that. I'll link that, I'll link the kit. But otherwise, we're going to go ahead, and like I said, I'm going to take one apart, turn the camera, and do it kind of from undone to done. So have your coffee or whatever you'd like to drink, and let's get creating the Sweetest Little Journal. All right, here's one together. And here's one apart. The cover, the tie, and the two signatures full of pages. 1, 2. So I'm going to set this over here and walk through even just tearing a cover. So remember that the pages are just about the size of a playing card. So here's the book, and here's the size. That's about the size of the cover each side and the pages. So I'm going to just show tearing a cover real quick out of this yummy fabric. So I want to leave some edge, and I'm probably going to tear this off, so I want to leave extra for that. but I'm going to fold this and leave about an inch or inch and a half or so for the binding side. So from there to about there, and enough to tear off. You can tell I am not very fussy at all. And I'm just going to tear it. And there's that beautiful torn edge already. And then I'm going to go from to this side and leave a little extra on the top since it's the cover. Man, I don't have any good scissors. And just like that, you have a cover. Except let's do this edge. You could leave that if you wanted, if you like it, like if you wanted that for the front and you did not want a torn edge, then that's fine. I love torn edges. So with my dull scissors, and as always, keep these amazing scraps to become elements in another thing. So here's a cover, here's a cover. This is the one I took off of the book I made and I'm showing you. And you can decorate that in any way you want. I did a tiny little stitch and a beautiful little bit of lace. So there's the cover. Your cover can be as thick or thin, sturdy or soft and deliciously pliable as you want. Can be anything. It could be paper. But the one that we're copying is fabric. So there's the cover. Set that aside. And then to show putting pages together. Oops, that got upside down. So I just, as in the supplies video, I just showed collecting a whole bunch of fabrics, strips of torn muslin or whatever, all kinds of different yummy fabrics, old papers, old lace, things that you've made, things that you can stitch on, things that you can glue on. So this got turned over. So let me just take one page and show you how it was done. So this piece of paper, this old piece out of an old book, was only a couple inches wide. And then I had an extra piece of that yummy soft fabric. And you can stitch before or after, or whatever you want to do with these. Then I had the middle piece for putting in the binding. And I just used the tiny attacher. This little tiny stapler with tiny staples are so cute, and it fits all the way more than halfway in. So some I just did a straight staple and some I did a little crisscross. You could actually sew these together on your machine if you wanted. You could stitch them with like as embroidery. You can do anything you want. There are no rules. But I had fun, and it was kind of faster and easier since I was away to do it with the stapler. So there's one. And then there's another one. I just took a piece of lace. That's a page. And I had this piece of fabric, which was out of a quilt. And I cut that, or tore that to size, and then I actually used this middle piece as kind of the binding center. Because this was a little wider than this. And then I'll show you this later. This is an embellishment of precious little bits and elements to decorate the pages. So I covered, on this side, I covered the staples with this really sweet little piece of bias trim that I had in my stash of little things. Here's another 2 pages, and I used a really soft gauzy piece of fabric for the center, staple, and then I even added some stitches, some little seed stitches, just to reinforce it and be cute. So I'm preparing 10 folios to go into one signature. This is just art paper from things I had done previously, and they were cut down to size, about the size of a playing card. Not exact. They do not have to be exact. They do not have to be perfect. They can be different widths and heights as long as they kind of average out to fit in the cover. So staples, lace. I covered this with a little bit of old lace. And then the bits I added later. All these sweet little things I added later. But you can add them anytime you want. So this is just an index card that works perfectly to fold in half and make a folio. And you could do the whole book like that. Isn't that cute? I love drawing and painting on grid for some reason. You could do a whole book of just plain paper. You could do a whole book of just this, or a whole book of just white, or watercolor paper, or lined writing paper, or music paper, or depending whatever you want it to be, you make it what you want. I love the variety of a different thing on every single page. So I did a few of these, but mostly it's the variety. So here's a whole, both sides, folio. So they can be full or divided up. Just a piece of lace, piece of art paper, staples. This was a piece of ribbon, and then on this side I just added some bits, ribbon and fabric, covered up the staples. Don't need to, I just did. This was a piece that I actually added this bit onto. I added this and made it 2 full pages. So it's some of this really neat gauzy fabric, and then I had this piece, and look how fringy and frayed it was. It's just so delicious. Added it on. I just stapled it at first. Later I did some stitches, and then on this side I added some lace, and you can't even hardly tell how I put it together. And then later some precious little bits, and all of these types of little things are in the kits, all of it. So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I think the other one has 10, so that's kind of funny. So I'm going to line them up, and I'm going to line this other one up that is the same. It should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. These are actually stitched together. See, this is two ones, but I actually stitched it together after that, and I lost count already. So 1, 2, 3. I'm going to turn this over because it's actually a face. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then I'm going to put this over here so this one has 10. And I'm going to straighten them up so that the centers line up pretty good. And I'm going to get some clamp to try to hold them still. It's not as easy as I thought, undoing and redoing. And they absolutely do not have to be perfect. It's more fun if they're not. So that's going to hold that. With the centers lined up, that actually needs to kind of, since they're not all exactly the same size. And I'm going to line this one up. See how stringy and thready it is? I just love it. That's from the sewing. And I'll show you in a little bit making bundles and bits to go together like that. So I'm just going to try to line up the middles. And so you see all of these embellished. And you can do this before or after, or some before and some after. You might want to do some things on your sewing machine. So it's completely up to you. And then, one at a time, these get stitched into the cover. So the cover folds there. So I'm going to kind of make a fold, and then I can see that I need to do a stitch here and a stitch on the other side of it to add these together into a book real quick. And this is why you kind of need a really big needle. And I'm going to go through on this side. And come out down the second side through and then into the center. And again, this is meant to be wonky and shabby and wonderful. So leave enough to tie. I'm going to go ahead and cut that and tie this one in. You could go around again if you wanted. This is such sturdy thread, I'm really fine with once and a really tight knot. And then that side is in, and I'm going to kind of clamp it out of the way if this will go over that much stuff. I can kind of still see the needle holes where I was before. So a nice sharp needle, nice strong, kind of line up the stitches, nice strong thread. Don't lose it. And then come back through. And if you're a perfectionist, do it perfect. But I'm obviously not. Don't poke yourself. See? Can you tell I'm surprised it came out kind of straight? Don't really need the needle there, but in fact, I'll cut that off. So have plenty of thread to work with because it can be kind of loose. And you could go around and around, and there are all kinds of different book binding stitches. I just like simple. And I do like cute little tails, so I'm leaving that. Or you could even tie, my scissors are terrible. You could even tie a bow. And then our book is back together, just like that. 2 signatures with 10 folios or pages, which in the end equals 20 per signature. And so you have a book that has 40 pages. And on this one, I just slipped this tie of this cute little scrap through here. Print side up. Actually, it's upside down, but that's cute. I don't care. So it has this cute little wrap, and you can use anything. This one was a thinner little torn piece of muslin, which was really thin and long enough to make a bow. And this one has to come around a little bit, enough to, these pages got all fluffed up just by me undoing them and redoing them. That's it for a tie for me for this one. So just like that, they're sewn back in. And I don't even mind, you know, crunching papers and stuff. So, all right, so there's the book back together. And then I'm going to show a whole bunch of fun ways to embellish and make little clusters of darling things. And then some fun different uses. The sky's the limit, but I will be back to show you in the next screen. I wanted to talk really quickly about how these little books could be made completely free. Just think outside the box and look at everything with new eyes, things you might be getting rid of, things that are going in the trash. Look at these amazing papers that are actually just the insides of junk mail envelopes. And they already have cute little windows, and that's a really fun option. Catalogs, newspapers are an unending supply of free paper. Clothes that you might, quilts, just look for things with neat fabric that you might just be thinking you're going to get rid of them. Look at the buttons on the things you're getting rid of. Look at old jewelry that you've never worn for ages that you know, could be used just for fun. Remember ribbons on packages, wrapping paper, gift bags, all of that is fodder for freebie making. So keep that in mind. Just look at everything with new eyes. Think about how it could be reimagined, repurposed. So just quickly back through one of these tiny little adorable ones. Alternate large patterns, that's kind of fun. So here's a page, and all it has is just this cute little cross stitch on it. One, darling. That looks like it got some of the paint on it, which is fine. Grid index card with a little piece of inside of a book spine. They're so cool. So cool. Cheesecloth for a page. Here's the base of some of that clustered art. It's on a doily, sewn on, just several bits of art papers combined. Old lace. It is so beautiful. And then fussy cutting some florals off of fabric and then stitching them on. Just fun. Old stamps, old art pages, plain. This would be perfect for some stitching, practicing some embroidery, anything, or leave it plain. This is photo printed onto like really thin like tracing paper. It's pretty cool. This is someone's shoes right here. Clustering beautiful bits onto some old quilt piece. Some of that embroidery off of the baby dress with the amazing tiny little embroidered edge. Lace. Strips of fabric stitched on. Some of that fabric or photo onto really thin paper. It's just so cool. Game cards. Wonderful fabric. Art paper. Tabs out of ribbon. So these adorable little books could be a slow stitch journal, a sketch book. You could do almost all sketch paper, or painting. You can paint on a lot of things if you prepare it with gesso or something. It could be full of lined paper for writing or composing music, or this could just be a place to collect all of your favorite little bits and bobs. It could be for little photos on every page. They make printers that are tiny little photo printers, and they can even be in black and white or sepia, and that would be adorable. The whole thing could be a gift, a tiny little album for somebody full of important things that would be important to them to save. A travel journal. And I thought, what if you made a bunch of pages lined that could be lists, and this is your grocery list book, and you pull this out in the store. I'm just kidding. Kidding, not kidding. How fun would that be? So it's just to love, to make and to love, to have or to give, to do whatever you want to do with. And I probably don't even have to tell you that. But remember, there are kits for the whole thing. Kits full of all kinds of deliciousness. But as far as the little clusters go, or bigger clusters, you can take some of your art papers, and especially all the little pieces and bits that you've saved, and then just start to layer them up with other things, depending on the size you want. And then they can be stapled together or sewn together. And I just like to alter how they sit with each other, and like that. You could take that on your machine and do an X here and an X here, and then just tear this away, and you have a cluster, which could actually be a page, and that's pretty darn fun. So those are kind of big pieces, and then smaller pieces that I love to put together. I have a lot of things that are strips that were torn off of stuff, and I use those, one of those neat rounded safety pins is at the top, and layer them up so that it's longest down to shortest. Punch a hole, put the pin through, and then you have a fun element that way. And I tied a ribbon on it too, obviously. So that's one way. Here are the things with the paper clip. those are so fun, sticking out the top or side, or just cuteness overload. And then I have bags, as I said in the supplies video, of tiny bits and ribbons and strips, things that were torn away, saved off of linens, tiny like this, tiny prints, tiny treasures. So I would take a piece of, you can use paper, lace, quilt bits. Isn't that cute? It's a buttonhole. I hate to cover that up. That's the hard part of making these bundles, is then you start covering things up that you wish didn't get covered up. So here's a fun piece of old, I'm going to get a smaller piece because I like for some of the back stuff to still show. And a little piece of lace. And I just start layering things up. See, I've already got that. This, and contrast too. So I'm going to do, wow, these are so cute. Oh my word. Is that not darling? And then there was a teeny tiny little, this bit. And you can just take a needle and thread, and so like a French knot there, or you can take the tiny attacher and make a cute little crisscross, and I think that is precious. That's a tiny little, I mean, you can tear stuff away if you want, make it more shabby. That's what I mean by little clusters. So lots of different sizes. These are some bigger ones that are done. And I sewed them together. I layered up fabrics, laces, little bits and bobs, and I sewed them onto tags, which I had have tea-dyed. And then this has this tiny little XO, and I just think they're beautiful and instantly decorate a little journal page. Here's some that are just fabric. I haven't seen these for a while. I just love them. I like to do these while we're traveling or watching something, or because you just take your little bits, save all of those, and pick out little bundles. These are those things that I call merit badges, and they're not done because usually I put them on a pin for somebody to wear, but they're also just layered up bundles of yumminess. And I like to add buttons and beads and tiny little things like the little key, like here's a tiny little pin with the heart and a bead. And so it's crazy and unlimited, and I have a problem, and they're just darling and way too much fun. This is fun. It has a little old buckle on it from some clothing. So sometimes I hand stitch. Lots of times I just sit at the machine and zigzag them together. I love to add old elements. Hand stitch, a little word, a little bow, black, old black, grosgrain. I love it. So those are what I meant by some bundles. And let me check my list. Clusters, bits. So be sure to watch the supplies video and know that I have kits, and I will link the supplies video and the link for kits for making these Sweetest Little Journals. And I hope you do it and enjoy it and love it. And let me know. And I will have more coming because I can't stop. So thank you for joining me for this. And somehow, I would love to see your journal that you make. So I'm here on YouTube, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook. There I am on Etsy. So I'll try to figure out a way that I can see everybody's journals that you make. Isn't that cute? All of these can fit, like that could fit in there as a page. This could fit as a page. So keep every precious little thing. And then this is a perfect collection spot. All right, thanks again. Hope you have fun. And I will be waiting to see what you create. Bye.